Well, good morning, everybody. There's a great-looking crowd here, and hopefully you're seeing the excitement that we all feel within the project management team and the authority and our elected leaders about this project. And I'm here to hopefully to impart some of that enthusiasm to you today. So very pleased to be here. Now, by the way, I think you've already noticed that I'm going to wander around a bit. In fact, if I wander in the audience, don't be surprised. As you know, I come from a military background, and I learned very early on in my career that a moving target is a lot harder to hit. I've noticed that trait has also stood me well as I entered the civilian world, and there seem to be a few pot shots taken as we move along in this process. So that's what I'm going to do today. What is our purpose? You've heard from our Lieutenant Governor, you've heard from our Chairman, you've heard from our CEO, and they've given you both a welcome and an introduction into our purpose here today. What I'm going to do is go into a little bit more detail. I'm going to tell you about the overarching project that we have, give you some of the more details that you will need as our potential partners, and get you read into our project. When I'm finished, it'll take me about 30-40 minutes or so. I'll turn it over to Mr. Ted Blunk, who is our contracts manager, and he'll go into a lot more detail for you. What I hope to do by the end of the day, particularly for Ted and myself, is that I hope to be your best friend. And the reason I want to be your best friend is I want to arm you with the right information, with the details that you will need to assist us in building this train project, this high-speed rail project. And if we haven't done that, then you need to let us know, because Ted and I will be around the rest of the day, and we'll be participating in the afternoon sessions, which we're very excited about, getting our small business linked up with our primes. So again, that's my purpose here, to be your best friend, and if I haven't accomplished that, let me know, and we'll fill in those details later. You know, I think Roloff mentioned the reception, which I saw many of you last night. It was a very nice reception done at the Grammy Museum. And as I was leaving, I took a second to go through the museum. I sort of came of age during that era when the Beatles were a very popular organization. And I think back to the excitement of those times. I had the fortune of being on the East Coast, and I took my bride-to-be on one of our very first dates to Shea Stadium to see the Beatles. It was quite an event, and the excitement that was generated in that era was really important to me growing up. And I'm thinking about, well, you know, perhaps we can have the same level of excitement here in California as we build something new and unique, something that I think is going to be a trendsetter. And you heard our Lieutenant Governor talk about this great state of California and how it's led the nation. So why can't we develop that enthusiasm? Why can't you and I together build a high-speed rail system that really leads this nation into the 21st century? So that's the enthusiasm that I hope we can come away with this meeting. Now, I was just standing there watching, and I thought about the Beatles as I was standing there, and Claire Singleton from Scansett. Claire walked up to me. There she is. Say hello to the group. And we were talking a bit, and she asked me a few questions, and I said, you know, I'm thinking about what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, because I have a very experienced audience here. I'm sure many of you know many of the details. And so I asked Claire, I said, what do you think I ought to tell the audience, Claire? And she told me, she said, tell these folks we're going to have a project and build up that enthusiasm in California. Let them know that this is going to happen. Let them know that we're going to build this system, bring up that enthusiasm. So again, that's what I'm here to do, and you can grade my paper as we go along. Now, we've talked about, and you've heard a little bit about, this will be the first true high-speed rail system in California. You've heard about the groundbreaking instances that we have. But you know, as you go back, and Roloff already mentioned the others in Europe and so forth have built systems. So I thought a little bit about, you know, there's some others who have done things of this similar nature. And for those of you who haven't had a chance, pick up a relatively old book, Stephen Ambrose's book, Nothing Like It in the World. And you know, there's some pioneers, some Californians and some others in the United States right after the Civil War that did something a similar feat. They built a Transcontinental Railroad. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, but I'd highly suggest as you and I think about what we're about to do, we go back and read the history books, because it was done once before, a major rail system, and again, I think that those of us in the room with the expertise and the technology we have, we ought to be able to do as well, if not better, than our forefathers in California. More on that in a minute. Let me do this. It's always good, since we're going to spend 40 minutes together, to do a little audience check, and I'd like to do a little audience poll today. For those of you that here working in California and have come to the event today, raise your hand. I suspect it's most of you. Okay, that's the majority of you. How about, have any of you flown in from other states to the United States to attend the seminar? Raise your hand. Keep your hands up high for a second. Look around a little bit. That I think shows that enthusiasm that we have here today. So thank you for coming today. How about from our international? I know we have some of our international folks, and I was talking to our Korean friends. If you'd raise your hand as well. Again, raise them high for a second. Just take a look around the room. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? I know I talked to some of our Korean friends who flew in specifically for today. We have some folks from Europe. And I bet if we counted the number of countries that are involved in this, pretty significant. So again, that level of enthusiasm that we have for this project. And that is our intent, by the way. We want to have the best talent. We want to have the best expertise. We want to draw on that experience from around the world today. Now, having said that, of course, as we mentioned with the economic situation, is that we are looking for you international folks, and you folks who come from other states. We want you to hire lots of our Californians. Roloff has already mentioned that we're going to start in the Central Valley, and so those are some economic areas that need some help. And so as you come, for those of you come and work with us, then we're looking for you to participate with our small businesses, with our constituencies in the Central Valley, in the state of California. So remember, I said I was going to be your best friend, and that's another hint to you all. When you come and work with us, that we do want you to hire locally. We do want you to use our small businesses in this state, and that'll assist you and be successful. So chalk that up as your best friend speaking to you today already. More hints to come. Pay attention. Okay, let's get started now with the presentation, and let me get the high technology system working here, and we'll do the slides. Are we on? There we go. Okay, well, let me start off first of all is that we discussed this, and with this huge audience we have today, I think it'd be impractical for us to get individual questions. So what we've done instead is that we've given you an email address. I have my BlackBerry turned off right now, so I can't get your questions, but we will take your questions, and we will get back to you, and we will post those answers as quickly as we can. So take note of the email address. Ted will also give that to you again, and so that's the way that we want to impart and have a dialogue with you as we think about this project and as we assist you in becoming part of our team to build this project. Now also, if you would, read the disclaimer that you have in front of you, because it's very important. I'm going to give you the best information that I have today. But there are a lot of elements in this project that's still to occur. As you know, that we have not completed our environmental studies at this point, and at some point we will complete those. We will go out to the public for information. We will present the results and our recommendations to our board. And so all that process still has to occur. As Roloff mentioned, there are a lot of funding decisions, and so our state, who's been very generous to date, has to make a lot of different decisions and help us decide exactly where we're going to build this system. And then, of course, our federal partners and the private sector as well, for that matter. So there are a lot of different things that have to happen, and I will give you the best information as I know it today. But again, you're going to have to be flexible and help us out in that regard. So that's sort of some caveats as I get started here today. So let's talk a little bit about the system itself. And I think, again, I think most of you as an audience already know a lot about what it is we're going to do. As Roloff mentioned, this is the first true high-speed rail system in the United States. We're looking to build a system all the way up to 250 miles an hour, and we expect to have sustained speeds of over 220 miles an hour on a dedicated track. Now, there are some instances where we will be sharing a track with some of our rail partners in the state. I will talk more about that in a minute, and of course our speeds will be less. But again, a system that moves people from our major population centers throughout the state at extremely high speeds. As mentioned, over 500 miles from San Francisco to LA Anaheim, and that of course means that we'll be able to achieve a time distance factor of about a little over 2 hours. 2 hours and 40 minutes is our goal, and right now our plans are we can actually come in a little less than that. And so that is our goal, to establish that system. Now we do expect that when we get into phase 2, we do expect to have an additional construction both into Sacramento and down to San Diego, and so that'll give us over 800 miles. Interestingly enough, the distance from Sacramento to Omaha, which our forefathers built, was about 1,600 miles. So if you think about that, we're building about half of what they built. So a very, very significant system. I think it's already been mentioned that we will be operating under electrical power, which is a very, very clean system, as you know. It will help us with our environmental issues. It will solve some of our import problems of oil. And so I think that's been a selling factor that's been very important in this project, that clean system. And finally, the grade separation that we will achieve. To achieve speeds of 220 miles an hour, we will have to have a grade separated system. And that's very, very important, both to achieve that speed, but it will also assist us with safety. I know many of you in the rail industry know that grade crossings are extremely dangerous, and unfortunately we have many, many accidents in the United States. So in addition to achieving our time guidelines, I think it's going to help us overall with our safety systems. So that really is the overview of our system. In order to study this and come up with recommendations, as you know, we had to break the system into 7 different sections, and these are the 7 sections that we were studying, and they're in front of you right now. I'll just sort of explain it very quickly from north to south for those of you not intimately familiar with our project. Starting off in the peninsula area, our first segment under study was San Francisco to San Jose, a very populated area. We will interface with our friends at CalRail in that point. In fact, we're looking at a potential of having a phased operation. There's a potential that we might share some track for a while until we're able to build our own dedicated track. We'll take the system all the way into San Jose, and that's really the first leg of our system, still under study, as are all our systems for that matter. And from there, we'll take the next leg, San Jose into Merced. And now that section really is one of our mountain passes, Pacheco, and so we have some very complex engineering to accomplish in that section. As we come out of Pacheco Pass, we go into the Y, which is one of our major intersections, which allows us to move trains either up to the north into Merced or down south, our ultimate destination. The third leg then, of course, is Merced-Fresno, which is one of our era sections, and that our expectation is to be building in that section. As you know, here we're into the great Central Valley of the state of California. The Merced-Fresno section is relatively flat, relatively even, and we'll be able to achieve a great deal of construction at a relatively inexpensive pace in that time. We'll be building largely at grade, although we do go through those 2 urban centers. Next, from Fresno down to Bakersfield is again a relatively flat, relatively at grade for a majority of our construction. And I'll talk about that in just a second. From Bakersfield into Palmdale, again, we get into some of the more complex construction. And here we have to cross the Tehachapi's. And again, the expenses go up, the difficulty and the challenges of building mountain passes will increase. From Palmdale, we again, going to Los Angeles, then we come through the valley and have some more construction as we cross the San Gabriel Mountains and into the great population center of California into Los Angeles. Again, some complex construction in those areas, very heavily urbanized. We're looking at our potential of some phased construction in those areas as well, because we now intersect with regional rail at that point, and so some potential for phased construction, and then to the great desires of our chairman, then into the great city of Anaheim. And so we're very pleased that be able to complete that section for you in your honor in the not too distant future.